welcome to the Drumdrops Kontakt interface. Today we're looking at the Rogers Big Or Dub Kit. This is a late 70s kit which comes with timbales and bongos. It's owned by producer Mike Pelanconi, also known as Prince Fatty, and resides in Moloko's Ironworks recording studio. It's a classic 1970s kit used by jazz, soul, reggae and classic rock musicians alike. The kit was played by reggae specialist drummer Horseman, who has played with many of the reggae greats including Sugar Minott, Gregory Isaacs and Max Romeo. The kit was recorded through some classic microphones and a rare vintage Class A console, which adds a sense of warmth and depth to the sound.
Shine through the darkness, yeah.
To get a dub reggae sound, you must have a dub reggae kit. And here it is. This is the late 70s Rogers Big Or Dub Kit. It comprises of a 24-inch bass drum, 2 interchangeable snares, a Ludwig Blackmagic and a Ludwig Acrolite, both 14-inch, a huge 18-inch floor tom and 2 rack toms, a 14-inch and a 13-inch. The cymbals used were 15-inch Zillion A sweet hi-hats and a 17-inch Zillion Custom A crash. The kit also includes a 14-inch timbale and a set of bongos. There is also some electronic percussion, including the PC2 percussion synthesizer and the Tama Techstar TS204. Okay, so let's have a look at the interface. Firstly, the mixer window. The mixer is laid out like a traditional mixer, whereby you have kick, snare, hi-hat, left and right tom, floor tom, timbale, overhead channel, and if we click this tab for channels 9 to 16, we see we have a channel for bongos and a channel for electronic percussion. Each channel has its own fader, each channel has a mute and a solo switch, each channel has a phase switch for reversing the polarity, each channel has a pan knob except for the overhead channel, which has a stereo width panner whereby you can vary the width of the stereo channel. If you reduce it right back to 0, it will make the channel mono. We'll leave it at 50% right in the middle for now. Each channel has 2 sends and the master channel has 2 returns. Each channel can be routed to any individual channel on your digital audio workstation. So let's have a listen to how the drums sound. So if we want to apply, for example, an effect like an EQ to one of these drums, let's see how we would do that. So let's say the snare drum. We select the snare drum. In this example, I'm going to solo the snare drum, switch on the EQ. Let's have a listen to the drum. So we would select the EQ that I want to affect, vary my Q value, increase my gain, and then preview in the mix. Again, soloing the snare, we can go into the transient master section here and I can vary the attack and sustain of the snare. We must have the red light switched on to hear the effect. You can also vary the input and output to the transient master. So we also have sends, 2 sends in fact, for each channel. So selecting send number 1, we now have access to a number of impulse responses for various reverbs. We've got some fantastic reverbs included here. So we've got a plate reverb, the EMT 240 and the EMT 262, 2 plate reverbs. We have a number of spring reverbs, the Fairchild 659A, my favorite, the Orban 106C, the Grampian 636, the Fisher Space Expander, and impulse responses for a lot of Moloko's famous studios in London, the Garden, Pool and Sofa Sound. So let's have a listen to how some of these sound with our snare drum. So for example, switch on send number 1. It's going to choose the EMT 240 and turn up send number 1. So we start to hear how that sounds and preview in the mix. Let's try the Fairchild 659A. Orban 106. The Grampian 636, famously used by Lee Scratch Perry in the Black Ark studio. We also have the Fisher Space Expander, famously used by King Tubby. You can also mix reverbs, so between the two sends, for example, on send number 1, we may opt to have a plate reverb, so we'll go with the EMT 240, and then, for example, on send number 2, we'll switch that on. We could opt for a spring reverb, so let's have a listen. So this is a combination of the EMT 240 and the Grampian 636. There are also a number of parameters for each of these reverb impulse responses. So you can vary the pre-delay. For the early and late reflections, you have access to the IR size, so you can vary the impulse response size. You also have low pass and high pass filters for both the early and late reflections. We've included a number of presets which have been created by our Drumdrops engineers. So for example, we've got one here created by Ben Thackeray called Solid Dub. Let's have a listen to that. Okay, let's have a listen to Single Malt by Matt Foster. And let's try the Dark Verb Kit by Andy Gray. You can, of course, create your own presets and save them. So if you have a configuration of this kit that you're happy with, you can save it as a preset and call it up anytime you load Kontakt. Okay, so if we click onto the master section, we see we have access to a bus compressor. This can add some real punch to your drum sound. So let's have a listen. We'll switch on the bus compressor. We will play the drums. And let's increase the attack a little bit. Reduce the ratio, reduce the threshold, and increase the release. Then we can increase our makeup gain. So as we can hear, the drums are sounding a lot more punchy in the mix. We can also add some tape saturation to our drum sound. By adding some warmth and high frequency roll-off, we can emulate the sound of analog tape. So let's have a listen. We can also vary the amount of gain, so the amount of drum signal being input to the tape saturator, and vary the output also. So now we have a really nice compressed drum sound with a nice warm tape emulation going on. I should mention a couple of other features of the interface. We have a master left and right panner, we have a master tuning knob, a master solo and a master mute switch, and we also have a volume slider here as well. Next we look at the settings page. Before we do that, I'm just going to load the default preset here. I'll go back to default and clicking on the settings page. On the settings page, we notice at the top here we have some randomizations, and this will allow you to vary the tuning, the velocity, the timing and the EQ while the kit is playing. So let's have an example. These subtle variations will help give the kit a very natural sound. Down below here we have articulations. We click here, we can see a list of all the various articulations that are available with this kit. The Learn function allows you to assign different keys to different articulations. We have included, for example, a V-drum MIDI map, which is compatible with the latest Roland V-drum kits such as the TD-10. However, if you use an older version of a kit, or a kit by a different brand, you can use the Learn function to move the articulations to different pads by selecting articulation and triggering the pad in Learn mode. So let's have a look at some of the maps that are available. We have maps for V-drums, we have maps for Superior Drummer, IMAP, BFD, Addictive Drums. And of course, as mentioned, you can create your own maps. With the V-drum template, we have included the all-important CC4 data, which allows your Roland V-drums to work well with the interface, allowing hi-hats to fully open and close. Other templates do not include the CC data, so if you want to use the Roland CC4 data, use the V-drum template. Next, let's look at the kit page. So on the kit page, we can click on any of the individual drums to hear the sound. We can vary the velocity curve for each individual drum. So basically you select your drum here, so we can select our snare drum, and then we can vary the velocity curve by selecting which curve we want to apply to that drum. You can also create a custom curve if you wish. And you can apply this to all the drums if you wish. So if you choose a curve that you're happy with and you wish to apply it to all the drums, you simply click this box here. You can unload any of the individual drums. This will help save memory on your computer. If you don't plan on using one of the drums in the kit, you can simply select it and then click unload. You can reload this at any time by simply selecting it and hitting reload. I mentioned earlier that there was two interchangeable snares. So we have the Black Magic snare and the Acrolite. You simply select which one you want to use. That's the Acrolite and that's the Black Magic. I mentioned the PC2 is incorporated in this kit. This is a fantastic percussion synthesizer. And you can vary the tuning of any of the individual drums, including the percussion synthesizer, using this tuning knob here. So selecting the electronic percussion, varying the tuning. So you can see how we can apply the tuning effects to any of the individual drums. So that's it for me. I hope you've enjoyed the tour of the interface. The Rogers Big Or Dub Kit Kontakt pack has been made for Kontakt 5. Two other packs can also be purchased for other drum machines and samplers. The Multi-Velocity pack and the Single Hits pack with templates for Kontakt, Battery, EXS24, Studio One sound sets, Ableton drum racks, Reason refills, iDrum, Machine and Geist. All of these packs can be bought exclusively from the Drumdrops website.
You should try, the milk and the rice, just a